Unit 14, respond to a welfare check. Location, Redwood Avenue, detached residential property. Caller reports movement inside an unoccupied house.
Copy that. Confirm any registered occupants?
Negative. Property has been vacant for 8 months. Utilities remain active for maintenance only.
Understood. En route.
There was nothing unusual about the tone. That was the problem. In their line of work, the most dangerous calls rarely announced themselves as dangerous. They came dressed as routine, quiet voices, simple instructions, clean paperwork. The kind of calls that didn't raise alarms until you were already standing inside something that didn't make sense anymore. Officer Grant knew that pattern too well, and Officer Malik, sitting beside him, had learned it faster than he liked to admit. Their patrol vehicle moved through the suburban grid with mechanical precision. Street after street unfolded in identical repetition, carefully trimmed hedges, evenly spaced mailboxes, houses designed to look lived in even when they weren't. It was the kind of neighborhood that never appeared in incident reports, which made it worse when it did. Malik glanced at the dispatch screen again, like repetition might change the meaning of it.
So let me get this straight. 8 months empty. No occupants, no lease activity, no maintenance calls flagged, and we're responding because someone saw movement inside?
Grant didn't answer immediately. Not because he didn't hear him, because he did, and because the question didn't have a clean answer.
Movement doesn't always mean someone's supposed to be there.
Yeah, but someone had to see it to report it.
That part lingered, because it implied observation. An observation required a witness, but a vacant property, truly vacant, didn't generate witnesses. It generated silence. Grant slowed slightly as they approached a turning point in the road, eyes scanning ahead.
Could be a trespasser. Kids cutting through. Someone looking for shelter. Malik shook his head once.
8 months is a long time for someone just passing through to go unnoticed.
The silence inside the vehicle grew heavier, not louder, just denser, like the air itself was becoming less willing to cooperate with simple explanations. Grant finally spoke again, quieter this time. See, we're not there yet. We'll see what we're dealing with before we assign meaning to it. But even as he said it, he knew that wasn't entirely true, because officers don't arrive as blank pages. They arrive already writing possibilities in their heads, and this one already had too many contradictions. Redwood Avenue didn't announce itself. It revealed itself, gradually, like a place that wasn't meant to be found quickly. The patrol car slowed as it turned onto the street, headlights stretching across rows of houses that all followed the same quiet agreement. Nothing out of place, and nothing worth noticing. But something was different here. Not visibly, not in any way that could be written into a report, just present. The silence. It wasn't the kind that came from an empty neighborhood or a late hour. It was structured, organized, like sound itself had been removed with intention rather than simply fading away. Even the engine of the patrol car seemed louder than it should have been, like it didn't belong in the environment it had entered. Grant eased the vehicle to a stop. And neither officer spoke immediately, because they had both already noticed it. The absence, not just of people, but of expectation. The house sat further back than the others, not by much, just enough to create a subtle separation, as if at some point someone had decided it shouldn't align perfectly with the rest of the street. 2 stories, brick exterior, a structure built with precision, now softened by time, not decayed, not abandoned in the traditional sense, maintained, but without presence. And the lawn had been cut, but not recently. The edges were clean, but slightly uneven, like maintenance had been performed by someone who didn't fully remember how it was supposed to look. No vehicles in the driveway, no lights in the windows, curtains drawn, but not uniformly, some tighter than others, some slightly parted, but only by fractions, Enough to suggest adjustment, not enough to suggest observation. Malik opened his door first. The sound of it closing seemed to travel farther than it should have. Not louder, just farther. He paused beside the vehicle, scanning the house without moving closer yet.
This feels wrong.
It wasn't fear. It wasn't even uncertainty. It was recognition. Grant stepped out on the other side, closing his door with deliberate calm.
Every house feels wrong when it's supposed to be empty.
It was the kind of response officers used to normalize instinct, to file it down into something manageable. But Malik didn't nod, didn't respond, because this wasn't discomfort. This was something else. Malik took a few slow steps forward, not toward the house, but along the edge of the property, testing the space, listening.
This isn't just empty.
Grant watched him now. Malik continued searching for the right words.
It's like something's missing, but not in a random way.
He turned slightly, gesturing toward the house.
Like it was taken out carefully.
That landed differently, because absence is normal in vacant spaces. But structured absence, that suggested intervention. Grant looked back at the house again, and for a moment even he couldn't dismiss it. There was no visible movement, no sound, no indication of life, and yet the property didn't feel abandoned. It felt paused. They moved toward the front door together now, measured steps, not rushed, not hesitant, just controlled. The walkway stones were clean but not recently washed. But no debris, no footprints, nothing to suggest recent traffic, which raised the question, if someone had been inside, how? Grant stopped at the base of the porch. His eyes moved across the structure with practiced efficiency. Door frame, intact. Lock, no visible damage. Windows, sealed. Exterior, undisturbed. Everything pointed to inactivity. Everything confirmed vacancy. Everything except the call. Malik shifted slightly to the side, positioning himself to view the windows from an angle.
Curtains are blocking everything.
He leaned slightly, trying to catch a reflection. Nothing. Not even ambient light bouncing back. Just a flat, muted surface.
No reflections.
Grant glanced at him. That was unusual. Glass always reflects something. Even darkness reflects. But this didn't. Grant stepped forward and raised his hand. He knocked. 3 sharp, deliberate taps. The sound carried. Too well. It didn't just hit the door. It traveled along the walls, through the structure, as if the house had accepted the sound and redistributed it. Both officers noticed it. Neither commented immediately. They waited. Standard protocol. Allow time for response. 5 seconds. And 10? Nothing. No footsteps, no shifting weight, no delayed reaction, just silence, returning to its original position. Grant knocked again, harder this time. The sound struck deeper, and again. It spread, not echoing, not fading, just relocating. Malik's posture changed slightly, not visibly enough for a report, but enough for Grant to notice. Still nothing. Malik moved away from the door and toward the nearest side window. He leaned in carefully, not touching the glass, and just close enough to observe. His reflection should have been there, but it wasn't clear, not distorted, just uncertain, like the glass wasn't fully committing to reflecting him.
There's nothing inside.
You can't see inside.
Malik shook his head slightly.
So no, I mean nothing.
He stepped back, and for a moment he didn't continue, because whatever he had expected to see, he hadn't. And whatever he did see didn't translate cleanly into words. Grant turned back toward the door.
Standard procedure. We clear it and report back.
It was the correct decision, the expected one, the one that aligned with training. But something held them in place, not physically. Nothing was stopping them, and yet neither of them moved immediately, because the house, wasn't acknowledging them, not in the way structures usually do. Even empty buildings respond in small ways. Temperature shifts, settling sounds, environmental noise reacting to presence. This one didn't. It remained, unchanged, as if their arrival had not been registered. And or worse, had been registered and dismissed. Grant reached for the door handle, paused, not because he was afraid, but because something about the moment didn't align with expectation. The timeline felt slightly off, like they had arrived too early or too late. Malik spoke, barely above a whisper now.
Does it feel like we're interrupting something?
Grant didn't answer, because that question implied activity, and activity implied presence, and presence was the one thing this house was not supposed to have. Grant tightened his grip on the handle. The metal felt colder than the air around it. Not dramatically, just enough to notice. He looked once more at Malik. No words, just confirmation. They were going in, but neither of them could shake the same thought forming, quiet, persistent, and increasingly difficult to ignore. The house wasn't empty. It was waiting. Grant removed the override key from his belt with deliberate calm. It wasn't the first time he had used one. Vacant properties, foreclosures, welfare checks where no one should be inside. The procedure was familiar, predictable, which is exactly why this felt wrong before it even began. He inserted the key into the lock. Paused, not out of hesitation, but to listen. Nothing. No movement behind the door. And no shift in air pressure, no sound of someone reacting to their presence. Just silence. Holding its position, Grant turned the key and the lock moved. Smoothly, effortlessly, without resistance. That alone disrupted expectation, because locks left untouched for months didn't behave like that. They tightened, they warped, they resisted. Time left marks. But this lock responded, like it had been used recently, maintained, expected to function. Grant and Malik exchanged a brief glance. No words. And none were needed. The first contradiction had already entered the report, unspoken. Click. The sound was precise, clean, final. Grant pushed the door. It opened slowly, not forced, not hesitant, but controlled, measured, like the motion had already been anticipated, and simply completed. The hinges made no sound, no creak, no strain, just movement. The interior revealed itself in layers, darkness first, then air. It moved outward past them, cold, dry, but not the kind of stale air that comes from decay. No rot, no moisture, no scent of time breaking things down. Instead, it felt unused, untouched, like the air inside had not participated in anything for a long time. Not even deterioration. Malik exhaled slowly as it passed him.
That's not normal.
Grant didn't respond, because he was already stepping inside. The flashlight beam cut through the darkness in a straight, controlled line. Living room. The beam moved left to right. Couch, covered in a thin, even layer of dust, undisturbed. Coffee table, surface untouched. No fingerprints, no objects out of place. Television, unplugged, cable loose. Nothing active, nothing recent, nothing explaining the call. Malik stepped in behind him. But the moment his foot crossed the threshold, the door behind them began to move, slowly, not slammed, not triggered, just gravity taking its course. The latch clicked softly into place. Neither officer turned immediately, because the closing of a door was not unusual. But something about the timing was. Grant lowered the flashlight slightly, scanning again. Everything matched expectation, visually, but not experientially. The house didn't feel abandoned. Abandoned places decay. They sag. And they breathe unevenly. They carry the weight of neglect. This place didn't. It felt suspended. Like everything had been paused mid-function, not stopped, not ended, just held. Malik shifted his stance, listening.
It doesn't feel like we walked into an empty house.
Then what does it feel like?
Malik hesitated because the answer didn't make sense.
No, like we walked into something that hasn't realized we're here yet.
Grant didn't acknowledge that, but he didn't dismiss it either. They began clearing the ground floor. Standard procedure, room by room, left to right, controlled movement. Kitchen, cabinets closed, counters clean, no dishes, no residue, no signs of use. Even the sink. Dry. Too dry. As if water hadn't touched it in longer than the reported vacancy. Bathroom. Sterile. Not just clean. Neutral. No personal items. No wear patterns. No evidence of prior occupancy lingering behind. Living room again. Or unchanged. Every object remained in the exact state it had been found. No disturbance, no shift, no response to their presence, and yet, the feeling persisted. They weren't alone, not physically, not visibly, but observed. Malik keyed his radio.
A dispatch, Unit 14, we're inside, ground floor clear, no visible activity.
A brief pause. Then, dispatcher Hale responded.
Copy, Unit 14. Caller continues to report movement inside structure. Confirm negative.
Malik turned slowly, scanning again. Nothing. Still nothing.
Confirm negative, house is empty.
There was a delay this time, longer than expected. Then Hale replied, but her tone had shifted, slightly, almost imperceptibly.
Our caller insists movement continues.
Grant frowned. That didn't align.
Dispatch, identify caller.
Anonymous, number blocked. Call received approximately 12 minutes ago.
Malik looked at Grant.
So we have someone reporting movement
He gestured around.
inside a house that shows zero signs of life.
Correct. Pure Maffinarm.
And that house officially has no occupants.
Correct.
So what exactly are we responding to?
Grant didn't answer, because at that exact moment, something answered for him. Above them, subtle, controlled, but precise. A single shift in weight across the floorboards. Not random, not settling, intentional. Both officers froze instantly. Training, reflex. Malik's voice dropped to a whisper.
You hear that?
Grant was already moving his flashlight toward the ceiling.
Yeah.
Another pause. Silence returned. But now, it wasn't empty. It was occupied by possibility. Grant adjusted his stance.
Second floor.
They approached the staircase slowly, each step measured, each movement deliberate. Grant placed his foot on the first step. Weight shifted. The wood responded. A soft creak, but layered within that sound was something else. Another step. Not below them, not around them. Above, matching, perfectly. Same timing, same pressure, same rhythm. Malik stopped mid-step. The sound upstairs stopped too. Instantly. Grant raised a hand.
Don't move.
They froze. Silence. Then Grant tested it. One step. Carefully. Deliberately. The upstairs matched it. Exactly. No delay, no echo, no distortion. Synchronization. Malik's breathing slowed.
That's not reflection.
Grant didn't respond because he already knew. Malik continued quieter.
That's response.
They reached the top. 3 doors. All closed. The hallway was covered in a thin, even layer of dust. Undisturbed. No footprints. No drag marks. No airflow disruptions. No sign that anything had moved. Grant pointed toward the first door, prepared to move, then stopped, because behind it, something shifted. Soft. Barely audible, like fabric brushing against carpet. Malik leaned slightly closer.
There's someone in there. Grant shook his head slowly.
No entry points, no heat signatures, no movement profile consistent with human presence.
Then what is it?
Grant looked at the door, then said,
We open it.
but neither of them reached for the handle immediately, because now the problem had changed. It wasn't just presence, it was timing. Every movement so far had already been mirrored, anticipated, matched, which meant whatever was inside was already aware of what they were about to do. Grant opened the door. The room revealed itself instantly. Bedroom, standard layout, bed, closet, window. But something was wrong, immediately. The air, it was warmer, noticeably, not subtle, and not explainable by insulation alone. Malik stepped in slowly.
This doesn't match the rest of the house.
Grant scanned the room. The bed, unmade, not messy, just used. Closet, slightly open. Carpet, different. He crouched, ran his fingers across the floor. No dust, none. Perfectly clean. Malik's voice dropped.
That's impossible.
Grant stood slowly.
This room has been occupied.
But the house is vacant.
Then the report is wrong.
But even he didn't believe that fully anymore, because this wasn't just contradiction. This was inconsistency inside a controlled system. The radio burst to life. Static, sharp, violent. Then Hale's voice, but distorted, fragmented.
Unit 14. Confirm. Status.
Grant grabbed the radio.
Still inside. Second floor, no contact.
Pause. Then Hale responded. Clearer now, but wrong.
Repeat last transmission.
Malik frowned.
We didn't transmit anything.
Grant keyed again.
Dispatch, confirm origin of last message.
Silence, then
I did not transmit that.
a beat. Then another voice. Not Hale, not static, closer, clearer, inside. You are inside already. Malik pulled the radio away.
That didn't come from dispatch.
Grant stared at it, then said quietly,
When it came from here.
They stepped back into the hallway. All three doors were now slightly open. Neither officer had touched them.
Hey, we didn't do that.
Stay close.
Then, footsteps again, above them, matching, tracking. Grant stepped once. The sound matched instantly. Malik whispered.
It's mapping us.
Grant looked up, and for the first time, didn't correct him.
When was recognizing us?
They didn't speak as they exited the room. They moved quickly, but not chaotically. Training held. Structure held. Only the environment didn't. The hallway felt different, not visibly altered. The walls hadn't moved. The doors hadn't changed position. And yet, the space felt tighter, compressed, like the distance between objects had been subtly reduced, not enough to measure, enough to feel. Malik slowed first, not by choice, by instinct.
So this hallway was wider.
Grant didn't look back.
Stay focused. Keep moving.
But even as he said it, his shoulder brushed the wall. It hadn't before. Grant reached for his radio, pressed in.
Dispatch, Unit 14. Status update.
Static. Not light interference. Not broken signal. Dense. Heavy. Like the frequency itself had been filled with nothing. He tried again.
Dispatch, respond.
Nothing. Malik looked at him now.
No signal?
Grant lowered the radio slowly.
No, something else.
Malik didn't ask what, because he already felt it. They weren't disconnected. They were unacknowledged. Malik exhaled once, short, sharp.
We leave now.
No debate, no hesitation. Grant nodded.
Agreed.
But neither of them moved toward the stairs immediately, because something had changed below them. It started as a shift, Subtle, measured. Then, clear. The front door. Closing. Slowly. Deliberately. Not slammed. Not accidental. Controlled. Malik's head turned instantly.
We didn't lock it.
Grant's voice stayed steady.
No.
Malik swallowed.
Then who did?
A pause. Not long, but long enough. Grant answered, quietly.
That's the problem.
They moved toward the stairs. This time, faster, but still controlled. Grant stepped down first. The wood creaked beneath his weight. And immediately, a second step answered it. Perfectly. Same timing, same pressure, same sound. Not above them now, not behind them. With them. Malik froze mid-step. The second sound froze too. Grant didn't turn around.
Keep moving.
Malik forced himself forward. Each step. 2 sounds. Always 2. Never 1. They reached the bottom. The front door was in full view. Closed. Still. Unchanged. At first glance. Malik moved quickly. Faster than before. His hand hit the handle. Turned. Stopped. Locked. He pulled harder. Nothing. Again. Nothing.
No, that's not right.
Grant stepped forward, pulled the override key, inserted it, paused, turned. It didn't move, not even slightly. Grant frowned, adjusted pressure, tried again. Still nothing. The key didn't fit. Malik stared at it.
That's impossible. It worked.
Grant removed the key slowly, looked at it, then at the lock.
Haramet, it worked earlier.
Minutes ago.
Grant nodded once.
Something changed.
Malik stepped back. His voice dropped.
What's something?
Grant didn't answer, because the answer was already forming, and it didn't make sense. Grant looked around the room, not scanning for threats anymore, scanning for behavior, patterns, responses.
This isn't a structure.
Malik looked at him. Grant continued.
It's reacting.
To what?
Grant turned slightly, looked at him directly.
Onto us.
The radio activated, without being touched. A familiar voice. Dispatcher hail. Clean. Controlled. Routine.
Unit 14, confirm entry. Property is vacant.
Grant froze. Malik's eyes widened slightly.
That's the call.
Grant shook his head slowly.
No.
Then, another voice came through. Grant's voice. Clear. Exact.
Copy. House is empty.
Malik stepped back.
Hey, that's you.
Grant didn't respond, because the next voice came in immediately.
And then who just moved upstairs?
Silence followed, heavy. Malik whispered.
That wasn't me.
Grant lowered his flashlight slightly.
That's not a replay.
Then what is it?
Grant's answer came slowly, measured, unavoidable.
It's happening again.
Malik shook his head.
I know, that's a loop.
Grant looked around the room, then said,
No,
a pause.
it's not repeating.
He looked at Malik.
It's continuing.
Something shifted. Not visually, not audibly, but structurally. The environment adjusted. Dust along the table redistributed. Not blown, not disturbed, rearranged. The air felt heavier, denser. Doors. Slightly misaligned now. Angles no longer matching memory. Malik turned slowly.
This isn't the same layout.
Grant nodded.
It's updating.
Updating what?
It's understanding.
They moved back upstairs. Not by choice, but because something was drawing them there. The office, the laptop, still on, still active. Grant stepped closer. Screen illuminated. A new file. Not there before. Malik read it aloud.
It's learning.
Grant nodded.
From interaction.
What interaction?
Grant pointed. The text updated, live. Malik stepped back.
We're not subjects.
Grant didn't hesitate this time.
We are now.
The lights didn't flicker, but both of them reacted.
Did you see that?
No?
Then, at the same time, both spoke. Did you hear that? Silence, no sound, nothing external. And yet, both had perceived something. Grant understood first.
It's not changing the house.
Then what?
Grant looked at him.
It's changing us.
They stepped into the hallway and stopped. A new door, at the far end, where there had been none. Malik whispered,
That wasn't there.
It is now.
No hesitation this time. They moved toward it, opened it. Darkness, no stairs, no depth, just absence. Then, a voice, not heard, not spoken, understood. You entered knowing it was empty. Grant's voice was steady.
Who are you?
A pause. Then, you made it not empty. The radio activated again. Hale's voice, same tone, same words.
Unit 14, confirm entry.
Grant closed his eyes briefly.
We already did.
Malik shook his head.
This is repeating.
Grant looked at him.
No.
A beat?
It's expanding.
We need to leave.
We can't.
Why?
Grant answered quietly.
Because it recorded us arriving.
So?
Grant looked toward the darkness.
And it doesn't record anything leaving.
The darkness shifted. Not visually, conceptually. Like attention focusing. Then, the radio. Grant's voice. Calm. Controlled. Exact.
Unit 14 confirms entry. House is empty. Malik whispered.
That's not us.
Grant stared into the void, then answered,
It is now.
The house was declared empty. It continues to respond to every entry. No occupants have ever been found. Every report ends the same. Unit 14 was never listed as missing. If this story unsettled you, that means you were paying attention. Because the scariest part isn't what was inside the house. It's the idea that something understood them better the longer they stayed. And if you want more stories like this, stories that don't just scare you, but stay with you, make sure you subscribe now, because the next one, it doesn't wait for you to leave.